What if the woman who vanished after midnight never really left the house? She vanished after midnight and left only a letter behind. The porch light was still on, the wind moving the curtains inside like someone had just walked through. Ethan stood at the doorway, barefoot, holding the paper she left on the kitchen table. The clock read 12:47 a.m., but the coffee was still warm. He called her name once. No answer. Just the echo of his own voice in the empty house they'd built together in small-town Ohio. The letter was folded twice, her handwriting shaky but neat, the same way she wrote grocery lists or little notes on his lunchbox. It only said, "Don't come looking for me. This isn't goodbye. It's something I have to do." The word have was underlined twice. He sat down at the kitchen counter, trying to replay the last few days in his mind. Her laughter at dinner. The way she'd held his hand at the farmer's market. Nothing had seemed wrong. Nothing had screamed, "I'm leaving." By morning, her car was gone. Her phone left on the nightstand. The neighbor, Mrs. Collins, said she'd seen a dark pickup parked outside around midnight. No one in town drove one like it. Ethan called the sheriff, but the words wouldn't come out right. How do you explain someone disappearing without a trace, without even the sound of a door closing? Days passed. Posters went up on Main Street. Her face stared back at him from every corner. Missing, Emily Carter, age 29. But deep down, Ethan knew she wasn't missing. She'd chosen to go. And that was the part that hurt the most. Then one night, 5 days later, the porch light flickered. A car drove by slow, its headlights cutting through the fog. And there, on the doormat, was another letter. No footprints, no sound. Just the letter. This time it read, "Don't let them find me. Please." Not even the police. His hands shook as he read it. The ink was smeared, like it had been written in the rain. There was something else, a faint symbol drawn at the bottom. He didn't recognize it, but he'd seen it once before on the bracelet she wore every day, the one she never took off, not even to sleep. He ran upstairs, pulled open the drawer where she kept her things. The bracelet was gone. So was the photograph of them at the lake. That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. He searched her laptop, her journals, old emails, nothing. But then he found a folder on the desktop titled The Lake House. Inside were dozens of photos, all of them of the same place. A rundown cabin deep in the woods, one they hadn't been to since college. He zoomed in on one picture. In the corner, just by the window, a shadow, faint, human, watching her through the glass. He felt the air leave his lungs. It wasn't just her reflection. Someone had been there. And just before the screen went black, he saw the last file, a short video clip dated the night she disappeared. The clip opened with static, the sound of rain tapping against glass. Emily's voice came through softly, trembling, like she was whispering to someone just out of frame. "I don't have much time," she said. "If you're watching this, it means they found me again." Ethan leaned closer, his heart pounding so loud he could hear it in his ears. Her face appeared, pale, eyes darting to the side like she was afraid of being overheard. "I thought it was over," she whispered. "After the accident in 19 after we buried the files." But they never stopped watching. The camera tilted slightly. For a moment, he saw the inside of that same cabin. Wooden walls, peeling wallpaper, a single lamp glowing beside her. Then a sound, a low knock on the door. 3 times. Slow. Deliberate. Emily turned her head, panic flashing in her eyes. She leaned closer to the camera and said, "Don't trust anyone in uniform." And then the video cut to black. Ethan sat frozen, staring at the blank screen, the hum of the refrigerator filling the silence. He replayed the video again, trying to catch any detail he might have missed, a reflection, a license plate, a clue. Nothing. By morning, he was in his truck, driving north toward the lake. The roads were empty, lined with maples turning gold and red in the October chill. He hadn't been there in years, not since their last summer together. The lake had always been their escape. No cell service, no traffic, no one around for miles. When he reached the turnoff, he noticed something strange. Fresh tire tracks in the mud. They led straight toward the cabin. He followed slowly, headlights cutting through the fog that rolled off the water. The cabin stood exactly as he remembered, small, gray, and half sunken into the earth. But the front door was cracked open, swaying slightly in the wind. He stepped out, boots sinking into the wet ground, and called her name. Once. Twice. Only the echo of loons from across the lake answered back. Inside, dust floated through beams of pale morning light. Her jacket hung on a chair. A cup of coffee sat cold on the counter. And on the table another note. You weren't supposed to come. The handwriting was rushed, uneven. Beneath it, a small flash drive wrapped in string. He plugged it into his phone, the screen flickering to life. A map appeared, a GPS coordinate deep in the Smoky Mountains, hundreds of miles south. And then, faintly, just before the screen froze again, her voice whispered through the speaker. Ethan, they know you're here. He froze. The words echoed through the empty cabin like a ghost. Ethan, they know you're here. He spun around, staring at the open door. The trees outside stood perfectly still. No birds. No wind. Only silence, thick, heavy, unnatural. He grabbed his phone again, replayed the audio, thinking maybe it was just an echo. But as he turned the volume up, something new came through, a low hum beneath her voice, mechanical, rhythmic, like a transmission signal. He followed it outside, the sound growing clearer. It was coming from the woods. The trees were close together, their trunks damp and dark from the mist. Every step he took made the mud cling to his boots. Then he saw it, a small metal device half buried under a log, blinking faint red. It wasn't a tracker he recognized. Government issue, maybe. Military grade. It had numbers carved on the side, 47N, 89W, almost matching the coordinates from the flash drive. He reached out to pick it up, but before he could touch it, the faint sound of an engine broke the stillness. A vehicle, approaching slowly. He crouched behind a tree, heart racing, as headlights cut through the fog. A black SUV stopped just outside the cabin. Two men stepped out, dressed plain, but their movements were too sharp, too controlled to be locals. One of them spoke into an earpiece. She's not here, but someone was. The other kicked at the ground near the door, then held up something small, Ethan's truck keys. His stomach dropped. They'd found his truck. He took a careful step back, the branch beneath his foot snapping just loud enough to draw their attention. Over there, one of them shouted. Ethan ran. Branches whipped his face, his lungs burned, but he didn't stop. He didn't look back. Only when the sound of the SUV faded did he slow, leaning against a tree, gasping for breath. The woods opened into a clearing, a lake he didn't recognize, smaller, silent. He dropped to his knees, trying to catch his breath, when he saw something in the water. A reflection. A shape. Someone standing on the opposite shore, half hidden in fog. He squinted. Long hair. A jacket he knew too well. It was her. Emily. She didn't move, didn't wave, just stood there, watching him. And then, without a sound, she lifted her hand and pointed toward the woods behind him. He turned. The hum was back, louder now, like the ground itself was vibrating. Somewhere in the distance, the faint echo of a siren. And just before he could speak her name again, the reflection on the water rippled, and she was gone. Ethan stood by the water's edge, his breath clouding in the cold air. The ripples faded, leaving only his reflection trembling in the lake. He waited for her to appear again, whispering her name like a prayer. But the fog only thickened, swallowing her image whole. For the first time, he felt the weight of stillness, the kind that comes when something has already happened, long before you realize it. He looked down at the flash drive still clutched in his hand, now cracked, wet from mist. Whatever was on it, it wasn't meant for him to find. The woods behind him buzzed faintly, that same mechanical hum, softer now, almost fading. Then silence. Even the sirens were gone. Ethan turned back toward the cabin one last time. The door hung open, swaying gently. On the porch rail, something caught the light, a small bracelet. Hers, the one with the strange symbol etched in silver. He picked it up, tracing the mark with his thumb. The metal was still warm. Somewhere out there, she was still moving, not running, not hiding, but leading them away. And for the first time, he understood. She hadn't vanished because she was afraid. She vanished to protect him. He slipped the bracelet into his pocket, started the engine of his truck, and drove toward the rising sun. The fog behind him lifted slowly, like the night was finally letting go. But as the road curved toward the highway, the radio flickered to life. Static, then her voice, faint but clear. "Ethan, if you're hearing this, it means I made it." The signal cut out. The road stretched ahead, endless and bright. And somewhere far beyond the hills, the lake shimmered quietly, holding every secret it would never give back.